All right, here with reaction. Former House Oversight Committee chairman, former state and federal prosecutor, never lost a case as a prosecutor. Fox News contributor Trey Gowdy is with us. All right, you watch this. Now, I think I know the federal rules of evidence. Correct me, counselor, if I'm wrong here, but they don't allow hearsay witnesses. And short of an expert witness or two, I assume opinion witnesses will not be warranted in a Senate trial presided over by the Chief Judge of the Supreme Court, Justice of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I don't think the senators care what three con law professors, to the extent they can stay awake while three con law professors testify. I don't think they care about whether or not those three con law professors think this president should be removed from office. Hearsay ordinarily is not admissible. There are certain exceptions. Senator Grave and I were talking about it just the other night on the phone. You can get certain hearsay in. But look, Sean, the record is already complete. They've already called all their witnesses. Ironically enough, the House Judiciary didn't call a single solitary fact witness. They called more fact witnesses for the Watergate impeachment with John Dean than they did for the Trump impeachment. So the record is already in. It's full. Let's vote. Send it to the jury and let's vote.
I will tell you now, I actually could be persuaded either way, in that I actually think these people are so nuts that once let the House representatives, whoever they appoint to present this to the Senate, let them do whatever they want to do. And then once they have the votes, the 51 votes, I would assume, call a roll, get it out of there. But then investigate the whistleblower, then the congenital liar Schiff, then Hunter and Joe. If we really care about quids and pros and quos, then Joe is right there.
Yeah, what I tell clients is you can say whatever you want when the trial is over. You want to say something about the judge, you want to say something about the police, you want to say something about anyone. But wait until the verdict is in. And the president is not going to be removed from office. He's not going to be convicted on these articles. So my advice to him would get acquitted, and then you can go say whatever you want to the Democrats and the media to the extent those are two different things.
Hunter and Joe, quid pro quo Joe, and the congenital liar Schiff, and contact that his office may have had, likely had, with the whistleblower, non-whistleblower, hearsay whistleblower, and the whistleblower, non-whistleblower, they should all be investigated. And there are other means to do that, short of doing it within the impeachment trial confines.
Yeah, I can't think of a worse way to investigate something than to have Congress do it. So the House has an ethics committee. If they want to bring Adam up for that ridiculous parody,
what about the Senate?
I don't.
He might have immunity, but his staff wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, quite candidly, I don't see Lindsey doing that. I mean, if there are misrepresentations made, well, you've talked to him more recently than I have, but I don't see. I think once the president is found not guilty, acquitted, then the attention turns to 2020 in November, and the president has the biggest bully pulpit in the world. If he wants to make a point, make it, but make it as someone who's been acquitted on 2 articles of impeachment. Don't make it during the trial.
Let me ask you one last legal question.
We're going to win right now. Don't mess it up.
I agree with that. Last question. You hear Joe Biden saying you're not getting the $1 billion unless you fire the prosecutor. He knew that the prosecutor he wanted fired was investigating his zero-experience son that's being paid millions. That sound like a potential crime to you, sir?
I would need to know more about it, but I would also tell you this. I have a ton of confidence in Bill Barr. And if there's a factual predicate, and what we learned from Horowitz is that factual predicate doesn't have to be too high to investigate something. If there's a factual predicate, let the professionals do it. I just don't think Congress has acquitted itself well since I've been following it when it comes to seriously investigating matters. Let the professionals do it if there's a predicate for doing so.
All right. Now, by the way, I know for a short time you weren't a Fox News contributor. I am advocating the full, complete reinstatement at a raise for you. Trey Gowdy, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to have you be my agent. Thank you.
You'd make a good choice if you chose me. I'm kidding.